Hello, and welcome to Talk Early to Me, where we dive deep into the world of early education. I'm Dania.
And I'm Tamara.
And every week we're exploring everything from headline stories, child development theories, new research, and real-life classroom experiences. Whether you're a parent, teacher, or caregiver, you're in the right place to discover practical tips, strategies, creative and inspiring ideas, along with the best practices that make early learning fun and meaningful, while you build the foundation for a lifetime of success. Welcome back, listeners.
Welcome back.
We are proudly on episode 4.
Episode 4.
Watch out.
I just love that clap.
I know, me too. It makes us feel so good. We are talking today about emotional intelligence, teaching kids to understand their feelings.
Maybe we need to talk to adults as well.
I know
it's
a lot
something
of
that
adults.
everyone needs a little practice with.
Everybody does. And emotional intelligence is not a one and done kind of learning. Emotional intelligence is consistent. It's constant learning over and over again as you manipulate your own feelings and, decipher what it is that you mean on a daily basis. I have to wake up and decide, how am I feeling? How do I label that? How's it going to affect my day? How's it going to affect my family? How's it going to affect my coworkers?
That's a lot of thinking.
It's a lot of thinking in the morning time when it's still dark. You're right.
That's a little bit over the top, but okay.
With a little bit of coffee, anybody can do anything. Okay, I'm a real fan of, hey, if you have some coffee in you, you can make some real life decisions. I'm just saying.
Learning to read your emotions is lifelong,
Mm-hmm.
and they change,
Mm-hmm.
and you kind of learn yourself and how you react to certain things, and then you learn your coping mechanisms for how you respond to certain things. But children need help with that.
They do. I would like to begin with the fact that, let's go back to the adults, okay? Emotional intelligence for adults links us to better relationships, okay? Better positive feelings about, work life, home life, all that kind of stuff. And it lowers some of the related stresses you have in your life because you know how to regulate your feelings. If you are always angry, it is not going to matter how great your coworker is. It's not going to matter how wonderful the traffic is. It's not going to matter that Starbucks got your coffee spot on this morning. You're going to be mad about something.
Yeah, I mean, it's easier to go off on another driver when they cut you off when you're in a bad mood.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you may be like, okay, you must have to get somewhere faster than me. But back to that self-regulation piece. As an adult, you've learned those skills. But maybe as a child, you're still learning self-regulation skills.
That's correct. And that's where we have to come in. As adults, we got to check ourselves first and then go in as we teach not only the kids that we may be teaching, but, our kids as well at home. How are we modeling for them? What are we doing to allow them to have some feelings and to label them?
So what are self-regulation skills? And we can talk starting with the ability to wait.
Oh, gosh.
The ability to know that I will get what I need in good time, but right now it might not be given to me. I have to wait.
Waiting is hard across the board. Children and adults alike. And we haven't done ourselves any favors by creating instances where kids no longer have to wait. We went through a pendulum swing in education for a minute there where, you as a teacher were looked down upon if your students had to wait longer than X amount of minutes for any kind of attention or anything to any activity or anything like that. Now, I am not saying don't be fully prepared for your job. Come ready. Make sure that the kids' needs are met. I'm not saying not to do that. But if they never have to wait, if everything is instant gratification, we're not teaching them anything in life. or we're teaching them that they're going to pay mega bucks extra at any kind of theme park because they never have to wait.
Well, we are a culture of instant gratification. So look at Amazon. Amazon has built themselves on 1-day shipping. You can get
I
it
love
tomorrow.
it.
See? You can get it tomorrow. And you mentioned the theme parks. Theme parks see, hey, people want to get to the front of the line. We can charge them more to get to the front of the line, and they're going to pay it because we don't want to wait.
We don't.
We don't want to slow down. We don't want to waste time. We need it right now.
Time is of the essence in a lot of different businesses. Time is of the essence in a lot of different life situations. But learning to wait is also very good. Patience is listed as a virtue.
I saw that one coming. So another part of self-regulation would be the ability to hold things in mind. Now, sometimes that's difficult. If you have something that you really, really want to say when someone else is talking, or usually when someone's talking and you need to interrupt, because if you don't tell that person right away what you were thinking, you're going to forget.
It does. I get that, but it also impedes the ability to actually hear what the other person is saying.
For sure. So if there's their problem with holding things in mind, like maybe children may have a problem with that and need to practice that skill to be able to wait and listen while someone else is talking, because the only thing you can think of is what you were thinking, because otherwise you will forget, and that's that's a true statement in some people, for some people.
Yeah. It also, the statement that you're so anxiously trying to make may be a moot point because the person has already covered that and you weren't listening to it. You did not hear a word that they said. I think when we're teaching emotional intelligence, we have to start with letting kids know that all of their emotions matter. And we touched on that before in our social episode, where that's not, hasn't been always taught that way. Kids' emotions did not matter, and now they do. I can almost attest to we might be going a little bit overboard because now they think that their emotions are all that matters.
And
they're
not wrong.
And but their emotions are not all that matters. Other people's emotions do matter.
Okay, I'll give you that.
The environment that they're in matters. The people that they're around matter.
I have a story.
Okay.
About emotions and validating emotions of children. When I was at Clear Cherry School, I had a child who found a snail on the playground, and she really, really loved the snail, and she wanted to take the snail home. Well, it ended up that somebody stepped on the snail.
Ouch.
And this poor little girl was so sad. She felt so many emotions for the snail. And she loved the snail, apparently, because that's what she told me. I love this snail, and now he's dead. And I said, well, you know what? What would you like to do? And she told me she wanted to bury him and basically have a funeral for the snail. And we happened to have a garden area, so we, as a class, so this was when I was teaching beginnergarten, the class that is like a TK, what it would be related, or not related, but the same as what we consider TK now. So we, as a class, made a box for the snail, and we made a headstone for the snail, who she named Joe Schmo.
Okay.
And
could she smell Joe? Could she spell Joe Schmo?
She couldn't.
Okay.
That's where we got our literacy skills came in, and I wrote the words, and she told me what to write, and it said, "Here lies Joe Schmo."
Okay.
He was a good snail.
Oh.
Good snail.
So profound.
Right. He was good. And we walked to the garden, dug a hole, put the snail in the ground, and she was happy after that. She needed closure for the snail. And everybody in the class was like kind of not sure what was going on, but they walked along with us, but it was about validating her need for closure. And that, okay, it was a snail, but had I said, that was a snail. It's fine.
Mhm.
There's more.
Mhm.
Let's go find another one. That wasn't validating what she was feeling.
Right.
I'm hoping now that maybe that made a difference in how she expresses, if you love something, love
Mhm.
it,
You love it.
and find a way to express it.
So all that happened in one outside time?
Well, that was our concept. I mean, we were emergent, so whatever,
Gotcha.
I had flexibility in my schedule and my curriculum, and I was able to go ahead and focus on that for the next, it probably took a good hour out of our day to kind of feel
Mhm.
with each other, figure everything out, talk to the other children, see if they had anything to say. They really didn't.
It wasn't their snail.
They kind of played while the box was made, but, and that was fine.
Mhm.
And they were fine. And everybody they were there and they saw it. And I think in some way, it was a learning experience for everyone.
I'm sure it was. And I'm sure she's somewhere now listening, remembering that Miss Tamara attended to Joe Schmo
Joe Schmo the snail.
and felt her feelings about how good of a snail he was. And, she was able to go on with her life. I can't begin to imagine what that parent conference looked like afterwards when you had to talk to that parent about that. But I'm sure mom was like, okay, thank you.
Mom knew she had big emotions.
Okay. Thank you for attending the funeral of Joe Schmo.
Thank you for
Appreciate
coming.
it.
Refreshments afterwards.
Yes.
Lunch.
There you go. I love it. So that bleeds into the social skills that emotional intelligence gives kids. Once they know how that their feelings matter, they start to label them and they can express them, then the social skills are there, which develops the empathy, which develops the ability to listen and to understand somebody else's feelings and need for feelings, talking about their feelings, teaching the coping skills that go with those feelings, you know, um, and maybe even encouraging some curiosity about that, because her sadness, just to bounce off of your story, her sadness may not have been something another child understood because they didn't have that kind of extreme sadness before. So maybe there could have been some leeway into some of that curiosity about what's going on with that. Why don't help me understand that? Doesn't sound like you had to do that, but it could have been there.
Right. Let's rewind to the beginning though, before we can even get to self-regulation. How are children learning about feelings? What kind of tools are we using? What kind of skills are we reinforcing for them to learn, or that they even have these emotions?
I'm hoping against hope that parents and teachers are modeling for these students, for these kiddos.
Dang, have you seen the videos where people hit the wall and they're holding their baby, and their baby starts to cry because they look at the baby after they hit the wall and say, "Oh, I'm so sorry."
No.
Like the baby hit their head, and so it's like they're playing on. I almost said still face paradigm. It's not that one. Kind of along that one, where babies are feeding off of your emotions. So whatever your face looks like, and that's the still face paradigm, where whatever my face looks like, if it's still, and I don't show you any emotions, then you as a baby aren't going to learn, start to learn what are emotions. Wait. And then if mom is showing happy, then the baby starts to learn what happy looks like. If mom is always still faced, if there's no emotion, and I'm looking at your face all the time, I'm not learning what that is.
Right.
I'm not learning how to react. But if I learn what your face looks like when something is wrong, if I fall, if I hurt myself, looking at you, if you have concern, I'm concerned, right?
Yeah.
So now we're playing on that, and we're hitting the wall while we're holding the baby, and we're saying, "Oh, baby, you're okay." You didn't hit their head, but you made them think you hit your head, so they lose it completely. Again, that's how we're teaching emotions. But that's showing the child had emotion. Hey, I'm hurt.
Mhm.
I'm gonna cry. Have you seen the one where they throw the cheese on the baby's head?
Yes, and that's not okay.
See?
It's not okay. Stop throwing the cheese on the babies.
I wonder whoever said, I think I'm gonna throw this piece of cheese on my baby's head and see what they do.
I don't know.
People do strange things for social media.
Social media is both a tool and...
But when we watch these videos, when we see things like this, we can see evidence of the baby's modeling of adult reactions.
Mhm.
The surprise. Like, what just
Mhm.
happened in my head?
Mhm.
Like, you just threw cheese at me, and I can't come at you because I'm a baby.
Right.
But I would if I could.
I think the baby's faces really say, if I was a little bit taller, we would have a completely different, this would not end well. This is what was going on.
So as adults, we definitely need to rethink some of the things that we're doing, because children are learning from these practical jokes in a way. Like you're playing a practical joke on your baby. How about the egg cracking one? Have you seen that one where they crack the egg on the child's head?
No, you know
Like
what?
a
I don't
full-on
watch
egg.
social media like that.
Well,
I think I'm grateful right now that I don't watch social media
right.
like
So they'll
that.
just crack a head, like they're just standing there pretending they're gonna make pancakes or something, and they like turn, instead of cracking on the bowl, they crack it on the child's head, and most of the time the child looks really angry, as they should be.
Yes.
And they react in anger,
Mhm.
usually throwing or hitting or trying to get an egg and hitting the mom back. But what are we teaching in that sense?
Right.
Again, practical jokes on kids? I don't know.
One of the late night hosts does every year the practical joke of the candy, the Halloween
Like,
candy.
I ate your candy
I
thing.
ate all your Halloween candy or something like that. These kids lose their minds. Like,
well, how do you feel
how
when someone
dare
eats all
you?
your candy?
Okay, I'm good unless it's a Reese's peanut butter cup, and then we're gonna have a talk. We're
See?
gonna have an issue because
You have big emotions over that, apparently.
I do have emotions over Reese's peanut butter cups. You are correct. You are correct. I can't even hide them. And it better not be missing when I come looking for it, because when I'm coming looking for it, I need it. And that's just that.
Maybe you shouldn't wait till the last minute to get it.
But how will I know when I need it?
Oh, well, I guess that's kind of like reading your emotions. Is that your introception, your inside feelings that you need to listen to more?
Okay, and now I'm getting lectured. Okay, all right.
Listen to your body.
So, listening to kids' feelings, being their role model. There's games that you can play to show them about your emotions. You can talk about emotions. There's many, many, many times in my classroom that kids have seen my face just contort based on a phone call, an email, somebody who comes in the door that is not necessarily welcome.
Yeah, I think you shared some of that on the social episode. Yeah, it's the same thing. Mm-hmm.
And labeling them. Had I not labeled them, all they would just know is Ms. Nay is now mad and in a grumpy mood for the rest of the day. And that's not what I wanted to show them, but I was having a feeling. And I did need to share that feeling with the staff because, it involved all of us, or for whatever reason. Or maybe it didn't. Maybe it was a text that I had gotten from home or something like that. And I had to make sure to check myself. My face talks before my mouth. And I recognize that. My eyes also speak when my lips aren't moving. And so I'm cognizant of that. And I know that sometimes that reaction comes before I can check it. So I have to turn around quickly and label it. Make sure that the people around me know it's not you. No, I just got this message or whatever. And that helps with the kids. The kids are definitely able to label that because they watch us label it. Also, when they are having big emotions, when we assist them in labeling their emotions, what are you feeling right now? Are you mad? Are you sad? When we give them some words and we give them some higher level words than mad, sad, glad.
Yeah, our feelings charts usually give a lot of different
Mm-hmm.
labels for those words. But when you're in your feelings, sometimes you don't want to talk about it. You don't want to label it at that moment. So how do you come back to that?
Well, I'm going to give you a moment if you need a moment. I always have, and I always will. I'll be ready when you're done. Let me know. And I'll walk away. Unless you're in danger or hurting yourself or hurting someone else, and then I have to, assist you into making sure that you can go somewhere where you're going to be safe. Calm down corner, the cube, the whatever that we have available, until you and your feelings can bring it down a notch, and then I reapproach.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is what happened. Tell me how you feel about it. What's going on? Can I help you? Let me help you. Okay, I do always ask permission because maybe you don't want my help.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you just want to feel. And that's cool. I get that too. I get that. So that's kind of how I circle back around to someone who doesn't want to. I don't want to right now.
Mm-hmm.
Just be.
And I think that's most children. I think when you're in your feelings, when you're mad, when you're sad, some children want to be held.
Mm-hmm.
Some people want to be left alone. Those might be the children that are hiding under the tables. And if they're not hurting anyone under that table, let them
Leave 'em.
hide.
Yeah.
Let them hide. I'm not ready to feel what I'm feeling, and I can't tell you what I'm feeling. I might not have words yet to tell you how I'm feeling. And here you come with your chart. Oh, get that out of my face.
Right.
I don't want that right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's right. You just stay close. And for moms, for dads, for parents, for caregivers, whoever it is, just stay close so that when they are ready, you'll see them start to wander towards you
Mm-hmm.
slowly, and then you make your way towards them, and that's when that reconciliation conversation can happen.
I completely agree. I completely agree. Forcing them frustrates you and frustrates them. We can't force them. How do you feel about praising emotional intelligence?
Praising as in giving the emotions that we feel are appropriate reinforcement.
I'm not even gonna label it for you. I'm not even gonna
Really,
decipher it.
really, you're just gonna throw that out there and just let
I'm
me
just
like
asking.
try to hit it.
I'm just asking. What do you think? Because we've gone through what we talked about, praise versus awareness versus, just being able to label some stuff, but praising emotional intelligence. Should I be praising a child because they can tell me that they're sad? Should I be praising a child because they covered up an emotion and said, I'm fine, I'm happy, I'm good? Is that
No.
praiseworthy?
I think we hide our feelings in general. Hey, this feels like a loaded question. It feels like, to a certain extent, we need to, because yes, you're doing what we're asking you to label it,
Mm-hmm.
and then you do it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do we want you to do it because that praise is the extrinsic reward or the intrinsic reward that you're looking for? And maybe that's what they need.
Mm-hmm.
I need a reward for feeling my feelings.
Mm-hmm.
I need someone to recognize that I'm feeling this. Otherwise, what is it? If you're feeling it alone, is it still a feeling?
Is alone a feeling or is alone a state of being?
I'm saying if you're alone and you're sad, but you don't share it with
I'm not
anyone.
going to walk by and give you a sticker because you look like you're alone and sad. Come on now.
Maybe that's what I was looking for. Maybe that's what I needed, a sticker. It was, but that's maybe what it was. I need that reinforcement of my sadness so that I can move on beyond it.
Okay. So we're back to Joe Schmo's funeral here.
I mean, I'm just saying that emotions that you keep to yourself don't really get unpacked.
This is true. Into adulthood. And that's problems with most of adults today.
So if I'm saying I'm sad and no one acknowledges that sadness, maybe I'll just keep it to myself. So So does that need praise? I don't think it's praise.
I don't think
I think
praise.
it's acknowledgement.
Awareness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm here and I feel with you.
Mhm.
Empathy.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say to you right now,
Mhm.
but I am here
Mhm.
and I feel with you.
Hey everybody, this is Dania.
And this is Tamara.
And we wanted to come to you and give you lots of thanks for all of the encouragement and the feedback we've gotten from all of the episodes so far. You guys are coming out with so many ideas that we are so excited to follow through with. We got a lot coming up for you.
Yeah, we've gotten ideas for new podcasts. We've got ideas for things that people have asked that we add to the podcast, like experiences where you, as listeners, can send in comments and we can play them on air and kind of let everyone know, you know, someone else is going through what you're going through. We've also, go ahead, sorry.
No, go ahead.
We've also put on the website a place that you can send us a text. So if you want to give us straight feedback right away, you put it on there and it'll go right to us.
We are also going to be hosting an episode where we make a list of all of the questions that we've gotten so far so that we can answer them. So if you've got a raging question that's burning in the back of your head that you want to know, go ahead and send it to us and we'll be answering them soon.
You know what else is interesting? That someone has sent us some ideas that I need to do research on so that I can talk about it. There's things that are out there that are new. One of those things is called PDA, pathological demand avoidance. So children who are always saying no, it could be a neurological thing. So I'm going to do more research. I can't wait to share those types of things with you as well.
Nothing like good research going on, right? Always keeping up to date. So this is Dania.
And this is Tamara.
Be safe and be kind. I get it. No, I put that in there only because there are some sources that have decided that that is something that we should be doing. That, you know, praising them for their ability to label and stuff like that. And I'm not sure that I think that that's altogether fair because I may come from a household where we don't do that. We don't
and
feel that way culturally or
you don't
else.
have a say as a child right now.
You know, or you're in that. I mean, should we add the footnote now that dealing with males and their feelings, little boys and their feelings, that can be a whole different pot. You know, the whole different way of dealing with things, only because of the types of male, what do we want to say? Not hierarchy, male
expectations.
Yeah, male. I guess the role model, you know, of what it's supposed to look like. You're supposed to be strong. You're supposed to be protective. You're supposed to be this. You know, the things that we assign to that gender role of being a male, emotions weren't typically a part of it. Boys don't cry. Boys don't cry.
Right.
You know, so, you know, suck it up and go do what you're supposed to do. And when does that poor little boy at some point in his adulthood, now that he may have anger issues or something like that, get to unpack all of those emotions that he felt when Joe Schmo died, you know? I mean, and that's so...
You know, it's been a minute since I've done the research and I've been in the classroom. That wasn't mine. To do some new readings, but when I was in school, I think it was when I was working on one of my master's degrees, we read a book called Raising Cain, and it's protecting the emotional life of boys. But this book was written in 2000. But looking through it again and looking at how many notes I have in this book,
it's quite tabbed.
It's very tabbed. But on the back, you know, it says Raising Cain gives a long-needed insight into that mysterious, magical land, the psyches of boys. Every parent, teacher, or anyone who wants boys to flourish should read this book. And it's very relevant. You know, it looks still like I feel like it's relevant. Maybe some of the examples and things are not, but the idea of what we're teaching little boys about emotions, about how not to feel, how not to maneuver You know, I think we're still often hearing that boys are told not to cry.
Mm-hmm.
You're a big boy,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
You're not a
And
baby.
you're not a baby.
Mm-hmm.
But then what are we taking away from them?
Right.
So I really do, I want to look into it more, but I really do think that this book is probably still very relevant to the idea, and for parents and teachers that are working with young boys, that we need to make sure that we aren't reinforcing old stereotypes
Right.
of how boys and girls should act. You know, and when we talk about language, we'll talk in one episode. We'll talk about language development and how we talk to girls differently than we talk to boys.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the times, not everyone. Not making a gross overstatement of how people talk to their children. Just saying that we tend to talk more to girls because they're more conversational than boys want to go play vroom vroom and run the cars over everybody or have the dinosaurs fighting.
Well,
You know, and that's typical development. So we're fighting against typical development too,
Mhm.
because boys want to play and be rambunctious, and girls tend to want to be in the dramatic play center and have conversations and serve the food, and you know, and that's just genetically how we are made up.
Mm-hmm.
So changing the way that we interact has to be purposeful, intentional, if we want to change how boys feel
Mm-hmm.
what they're feeling.
I feel I may have overcome that
You do have a child who feels.
with my son. Although he was a typical developer,
Mhm.
I went hard on the language when he was young, and that's just my own background and feeling. My family in general goes hard on language in general to
Mhm.
all the kids. You know, boys, girls, it doesn't matter. There is always a strong language given, and there was always lots and lots of talking going on. And so he has more of that language capability than I just want to go play vroom vroom.
No,
And he feels hard.
I was going to say, and the expressions of the emotions he's
Oh
feeling,
gosh.
I think take you by surprise sometimes.
Mm-hmm. He feels real hard. I mean, he saw a news flash the other day about a sea lion that got hurt, and he was devastated all the way to school. I mean, he shed tears and would not talk and was devastated all the way to school and wanted vengeance for this sea lion. I mean,
He does tend to want to protect those that are being wronged.
and you know, I mean, later on, of course, he got over it or whatever, but it was just we didn't feed into the stereotype.
Mhm.
I don't know that most of my family does. And that isn't necessarily typically cultural for us per se,
Mhm.
to necessarily feed into that stereotype or do the opposite of what that stereotype would be. We give all of our kids language, and you better, you know, you got a problem, you better say something about it, or, you know, let's move on. You know, if you don't say anything about it, then it must not mean that much to you. Let's move on. And that's kind of the way that it has been in our family, but it's done our boys an extreme good because they do have some of the empathy for other people. They do understand those feelings that others may be having, as well as how to control their own and what their own is feeding into the situation.
Mhm.
So, I mean, as a family, I'm going to go ahead and give some props. I think we've kind of overcome that. Oh, I got claps. I got claps. What?
No, that's big. I mean, that's where we go back to the modeling.
Mhm.
And that was one of the most important things that we talked about with emotional intelligence, is that ability to have a role model that is showing you how to feel and teaching you the language skills to express that.
I'm not saying that we're always right in what we showed them how to feel. Don't get me wrong.
Nobody's saying that.
Okay.
We're just saying that in this case, you did right by modeling the language and the ability to feel, and that it's okay.
Mhm.
It's okay to feel. Nobody's telling you no.
Absolutely not. You can have some feelings. Be careful what you do with them, but you can have some feelings.
That felt like a keep it to yourself sometimes, but okay, go
No.
ahead and feel.
No. Go ahead and feel. I mean, if you are angry, though, I mean, I'm not sure that I want you to put a hole through my wall, but go ahead and feel. Go ahead and feel. You can be angry, but don't be silly
Don't
about
take
it.
it out on anyone.
Yeah,
We
don't
talk
take
a
it.
lot about that, especially at preschool.
Mm-hmm.
When we do have a child who is in their emotions and feeling mad, and the first instinct for them is to hit something or someone or make sure that everyone knows you're mad.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to toss this table. I'm going to toss these chairs.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to throw this across the room. We talk about how it's okay to be angry. It's okay to be mad at something, but you cannot hurt other people. Let's talk about other ways to express this anger. And we talk about screaming. I've screamed with children. I think I've said that before. We've pushed walls. Push the wall. Feel it. You know, um, we. But it has to be some punch the pillow. A big pillow. Make sure there's enough room for that pillow to take the brunt of it, and they're not hitting the floor. But give them an outlet for that anger, because we all need outlets for our emotions, and we need to learn early. Okay, I can feel angry, but I'm not going to take it out on another person, because if I'm angry and hurt, you need to hurt too.
Right.
That's not right.
No, those coping skills are extremely important. So we as adults need to know some more coping skills ourselves, so that we can model them and teach them for our littles. So we know that we've talked about what it looks like in the classroom, what we've done in the classroom as educators. What does it look like at home? How are we teaching these things at home? Or how are we assisting the teacher as the teacher teaches these things at school? And we don't want that to be a fine line. When I get home, I'm going to code switch and I'm going to go back to being this other type of way. I would suggest that line also not be blurry. You want it to be a continuum of the coping skills, the mechanisms, and how we label and are allowed to feel at school is the same way at home. What would your first suggestion be for a parent?
I'm going to go back to building the self-regulation skills, because those are things that parents have control over. You talked about playing games. I mean, that could be any game where it's turn taking. I have to wait for my turn. And for 3-year-olds, that's really hard. It's not until the age of 5, I believe, 5, 6, where children can actually play a game with rules. They have the ability to do that because their brain development is at that level. Their cognitive abilities are at that level to be able to follow rules. So when we're asking a 3-year-old to play a game that requires them to wait, or a 2-year-old, it has to be an appropriate amount of wait time.
Lickety split.
Right. You go, I go. You go, I go. You go, I go. Me, you. Me.
Right.
But at some point you stop and say, okay, my turn. My turn, your turn. One for me, one for you. So starting to build those skills. Having children wait to talk to you, not interrupt conversations, teaching them that, I'm talking, but I'll be right with you. That's a skill that they're, I'm going to hold, and you have to hold what you want to tell me in mind, because, and they may forget by the time, but if they continue to practice that, and labeling feelings at home, modeling, if you have emotions, feel your emotions, and then maybe talk about it if you can. I mean, there's obviously some things that, keeping it developmentally appropriate, there's things that adults deal with that sometimes children won't understand, but they can begin the conversation. Mommy's really sad right now. We experienced something that we experienced the loss, and talk a little bit about it, and they'll say okay and run away.
And run off.
Yeah. But that's okay because you've given that ability to feel.
Mm-hmm.
Mommy feels, but she's gonna be okay.
Mm-hmm. I think my mom taught that when you circle back to keep it in mind, don't interrupt an adult. Okay, that was a big culturally. That's a big thing. Okay, that's just not something that you do. But my mom had little hand signals for when she was going to be able to get to us.
Okay.
And it was, you were allowed to give her a signal, make eye contact, and she knew that you needed her.
Okay.
And then she would or would not excuse herself from her conversation based on the signal that you gave.
Nice. Okay.
And so, it was just one of those, she would put up one finger or two fingers or whatever, and it was, I'll be with you in a moment, or it was, excuse me, I'll be right back, to the adult that she was talking to, or whatever. Now, if you did interrupt her, it needed to be substantial. Do not interrupt her because, a cracker fell on the floor or something.
I need a cracker right now.
Yeah. That was not considered okay.
So you as the child had to decide, is this worth interrupting?
Is this worth interrupting? But her facial expression and the signal that she gave back, because moms, caregivers, I'm not even going to classify just moms, please excuse me, caregivers in general, if you have spent any kind of time with that one particular child, you know what they're asking for. You know what they want. And, yes, typically they do want your attention as soon as you get on the phone. They do want your attention as soon as you start having a conversation with somebody. But if you know them, you can tell whether there is, is
urgency,
there a fire in the bathroom?
Right? Is this important?
Yeah. Or are you okay? So.
Yeah. So I think just the modeling at home, spending time acknowledging emotions. I mean, have an emotion chart at home.
Yeah.
When your child comes home from school, ask, how was the day?
Mm-hmm.
It was a sad day. Okay, let's unpack that.
Mm-hmm.
And it might have been just so-and-so didn't want to play with me today. Okay, I see where that would make you sad. But were you able to play with someone else? Mm-hmm. Who else was around? What else did you do? But acknowledge that sadness and that it is valid. Mm-hmm. It is sad when no one wants to play with you.
I get sad when nobody wants to play with me.
I think we all do. I think we all want to be in a position where people want to play.
Mm-hmm. They want to be around you. They want your company.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
It makes us feel better. And, with friendship and social, we talked about that in the last episode. Making friends is tough. Mm-hmm. Keeping friends is tough. Now make yourself 3. Mm-hmm. And then it's just off the wall. So.
All right. Well, I think that we are going to wind down this episode with that. If you have any other questions or any other ideas that you have about emotional intelligence that you want to share with us, don't be afraid to reach out. Send us that text.
Right there on our website or on wherever you're listening, on Apple Music, Spotify, wherever you're listening. There should be a little line that says send us a text, and that text goes right to us, and we'd be happy to hear any feedback or ideas that you have, and we appreciate the time that you take to listen.
Absolutely. So for our next episode, if I may, we're going to talk about early literacy.
I think it's both of our soapboxes, but especially Dania's is just a little bit higher.
Oh my God, I could talk about early literacy for days and days and days, and Tamara's going to make sure that I don't. But I just want to make sure that you are going to tune in, come back for that, and give us your ear for just another few minutes as we talk about early literacy. So that's it for today's episode of Talk Early to Me. I'm Dania.
And I'm Tamara.
And we hope you've gained some valuable insights into the ECE world. Be sure to subscribe and share with others who are also passionate about early childhood education. And always remember, every moment can have a big impact on a child's development. Until next time, Be safe, be kind.